Okay, so let's continue on and go to the next page, which is dealing with percentages. Okay, so percentages. To calculate with percentages, enter the number, then second, and it's showing that parentheses, because above that parentheses, you'll notice percent sign. Okay. So if we were doing 40% times 560, so I'm going to turn it on, clear, 40%. So I need to do, 40% at 40 second, and then the parentheses, because there's the percent sign above it, times, and then 560, 560, and then we press enter. We do get 224. Okay, so on these you are solving, and it says 25% of 40. And we need to remember, of means to multiply. So all these are saying is exactly what you had it above, is 25% times 40. Okay, so 25%, 25 second, and we're doing the percent sign, times 40, enter is 10. And remember, we're not writing on here, though there's space. That's not where we're writing it. We're writing in our answer, and here we are in percentages, and we are number 1, and we're doing number, and that is 10. Be careful, we're going down. Number 2 to 0.5% of 20. So 0.5 second, and the parentheses to get that percent sign, and then times 20 gets of. So we are taking this part of 20. So it's not going to be a very big number. Remember, we got to think about, I must have pressed enter several times. We got to think about, oh, you can't see that. Sorry. What our answer should be doesn't make sense. And so it's 0.1. And that does make sense because 0.5 of 20. It's not a very large part. It's a very small part. So it's only 0.1. Okay, and so that was our answer for number, you can't even see. Number 2, that's what I entered. Check your calculator, 0.05 of means to multiply, and then 20. And so that gave us 0.1. Okay. You have 4 minutes to complete this section. Go ahead and pause the video. Okay, let's go ahead and look at our next section. So this was numbers 1 through 15. So we're at the end of this page on our answer key. So we're going to the third page, or the last page, the last bit. Okay. And it says change percent into a decimal. And so if we look at our directions, change percent into a decimal, change percent into a fraction, there's the directions that we're going to do for each little section. To calculate with percentages, enter the number, second, parentheses, and enter. So we're going to enter the number, and then second, parentheses, and enter. And then the answer, the toggle key can be used to toggle between those different displays, like we already talked about. Okay, and so we're going to go ahead and we're going to do that. We're going to try some on this side, and then we'll do one on this side, 2 on this side, maybe. Okay, I guess I can zoom out a little bit. Everything I'm doing. Okay, so we're doing 0.39, 0.39, and we want to do percent, so second and percent. And then it says our toggle key can go between different things. So if we want it to be something else. So I'm going to just press the toggle key, and it gives it to me as a decimal. And if you notice on your answer sheet, it asks for it to put it into a decimal. And that does make sense. 0.39 is not a very large percent of something. And so therefore the whole number, or it's a decimal, so it's not a whole number, is going to be smaller. Remember, we can also say we move the decimal 2 places to the left to change from a percent to a regular number. Okay, so let's just do one more just in case. So 114, second and percent, toggle key, enter. Oh, it gave it to me as, glad we did this. It gave it to me as a fraction. Okay, gave me it as an improper fraction. So I'm just, like I said, play with it and see. We're going to press the toggle key again. Remember, it can go from fractions to decimals too. So hopefully it'll change that fraction to a decimal. And so when I press it again, it does, and it goes to 1.14. So now it says a decimal. Remember, it says percent into a decimal. Don't write a fraction where it says write it as a decimal. And so that was 1.14. So on my answer sheet, 1.14. Okay, and you have 2 minutes to finish up. 3, 4, and 5. Go ahead and pause the video. Okay, so change percent into a fraction. Okay, so we're going to be doing the exact same thing here, except for now we need to make sure that we answer ours in a fraction. So let me organize this where we can see everything all at once. Okay, answer key, that's where we're writing, not in these blanks over here on the document. So we have 426. Can we fit everything in here? Oh, yeah, well, if I unzoom it a little bit. Okay. So 426%, toggle key. What happens? It changes it to a fraction. Did I want it as a fraction? Yes, change a percent into a fraction. So 213 over 50, that is an improper fraction. So depending on what they're looking for, I may need to change that. So get that practice to a mixed number. 4 and 13 over 40. 4, 13 over 50, not 40. Okay. Remember, I'm looking for the first thing that pops up into the calculator though. Currently, that's all I'm looking for. Okay, so just one more. Make sure that since this is a smaller fraction or percent. So second percent key gives me 0.35. I didn't want it as a decimal. Again, glad I did this. It said percent to a fraction. I don't want it in a decimal. So I'm going to press my toggle key, get it as a fraction. It's 7 over 20. There we go. Sorry. 7 over 20. You have 2 minutes to do 8, 9, and 10. Pause the video. Okay. Final page. Dealing with function tables. So this is just kind of cool. I don't really know how much you'll get to use it, but we've worked a lot with tables, and so I think this is kind of interesting. So we're doing function tables. Okay, so here's that word table. Let's just clear everything. I'm going to press the word table. Okay, and then notice I have y equals. We've always talked about our equations. Y is equal to kx. And so I'm pressing, here's my x values of my table. And then 4x is what y is going to equal. So this is my x and this is my y. Oh, I'm writing on the wrong paper. Okay, and so I'm entering y is equal to 4. And then I'm pressing this button, X, Y, Z, T, A, B, C. It's my variable button. And so it's going to give me y is equal to 4x. Any kind of variable is just kind of what that means, okay? And then I'm going to press the enter button, okay? And then all of the stuff comes up. Start, steep, auto, ask, negative x. We're just going to focus on the start at this point. And we want it to start at 2 because right here x is going to be 2. And so I'm going to change that 0 to a 2 because I was blanking over it so I could. And then it wants me to press enter 4 times because I'm trying to get down to this okay. So if I press enter 1, 2, 3. Now I'm hovering over okay, but I need to actually press it. Okay, and so x is 2. When x is 2, y is going to be 8. And remember, I don't want to put that in my packet. I want to put it in my table. Okay, so x is 8. Okay, but I got to complete the rest of my table. And so it says write value into the table. So I just did that. And then it says scroll down to 8. So here I'm at 2. So I'm going to just scroll down till I find 8. And there it is. And so when x is 8, y is going to be 32. So I'm just plugging in 32. And that makes sense because 2 times 4 is 8. And 8 times 4 is 32. Okay. And then it says write value into table. And the other way to do it, so the next thing that I'm showing you is another way to go about it, which is what we're going to need for our next table. It's going to be more beneficial and helpful. We want to find the value when x is a negative 3. So it says to press clear. And so when I press clear, it brings me back to that start. So if you notice, it's highlighting over 6. I need x to be 3. So it's just where my table is going to start, where I'm viewing it at. That's all that means. And I can press enter, 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 or I just need to get to OK. So if I press my down arrow, it's going to get me to OK as well. And then I'm going to press enter. And so when x is negative 3, y is a negative 12. Okay, and so it's your choice, however you want to go about it. 0 is pretty close, so I'm just going to scroll. Negative 7 isn't too far away, so I'm just going to scroll. So when x is negative 7, y is negative 28. Okay? Okay, so our next one, we're going to work it together, but try, I'm going to help you a little bit more with this one. Okay, so we're going to press table again. It's bringing me back to y is equal to, and now I want to make it y is equal to x minus 2. So you need to see the full calculator. X minus 2. So we're going to press the X, Y, Z, T. Is that a T? Yeah, T, A, B, C button. Here we go. And then we need to do minus, and then 2. And then after that, we press enter, okay? It says start. We want our starting point to be 0, because that's the first value we need to know. So 0 equals, or enter, get to that, okay. So when x is 0, y is going to be a negative 2. Makes sense, 0 minus 2 is negative 2. Okay, so when x is negative 11, I don't want to scroll all the way to negative 11. That's a little bit further away. So I'm just going to change this to negative 11. I press clear, and negative 11. Okay, we can scroll down to okay, enter. So when x is negative 11, y is going to be a negative 13. Ooh, there's an even bigger jump. I really don't want to go all the way from negative 11 to 35. So I'm just going to press clear. And then I'm going to change my starting point to 35. That way I am able to see what the table would be. So it has it infinitely on. So when x is 35, y is going to be 33. which I can do that math in my head, but I just want you to get the practice, because 35 minus 2 is 33. Okay, 28, again, I'm going to clear, get that practice, press in 28, enter a couple of times, and then I get, when x is 28, y is going to be 26, and then, oh, it would have been a lot easier if I would have done this one, and I could have, that would have been fine if I saw it. So table, oh, I pressed the wrong button. That's okay though, this is what I wanted. X minus 2, so I'm just going to press enter. That's still the one that I wanted, so I just pressed enter. And then I need my start to be -3. Enter again, enter, enter, okay. And does it make sense? So when x is -3, -3 minus 2 is a -5. Yes, that does make sense. Okay. Next we have roots. And we looked a little bit at roots at some point, huh? I don't know. Oh, at the basics, yeah. Okay, so we want to do 529. So let me clear out of here. In fact, I'm just going to press clear and on at the same time. Or one and then the next, and then clear again. So none of that is in there. Okay, so I need the square root button, which is right above the x squared. So I have to press that second key first, and then the x squared button. And now I see the square root symbol, 529, and then enter. And I get 23, which is what the correct answer should have been. Okay, so just make sure we can do number 1. So second, the square root, 324 is the square root, and that answer is 18. Remember, make sure you're writing your answer on your answer sheet. Roots was 18. Okay. You have 1 minute to do the rest of this section, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Go ahead and pause the video. Okay, so then let's look at the rest of them, 6 through 10. And so we have that cubed. Okay, so we have to press the 3 first. So 3, and then second, and the caret button to where we're getting to the x cube or square root, and then 1728, 1728, and enter, and I get 12. So the cube root of 1728 is 12, and that was the answer for number 6. No, that was the answer for, sorry, the correct answer is 12. That was the answer for our example. So let's make sure we can do 6 together. So we are going to do, we need the 3. Now watch, if I do this first, see how it says, oops, you can't see it. Okay, so if I did this second and this, the caret key to get to that X, and then the thing, it says A and S for answer. So it's not putting in the number that I want, which was 3. Okay, so clear. I need to do 3. So just be wary. Make sure you're looking at your calculator, not just typing stuff in. Equals 9. And again, write your answer on your answer sheet. You have 1 minute to do 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, and our final thing is scientific notation. And yes, scientific notation will be found in science as well. Okay. So to perform calculations with scientific notation, use the X10N button. And you'll learn a little bit more about that in science and in your 8th grade math class. Okay, so here's our example. 7.8 times 10 to the 8th. So that's what that times 10n is standing for. The x 10n is actually times 10 to the nth power because we could change it. So it just needed a variable, okay? It doesn't have to be the 8th. For instance, here it's to the negative 4th power, okay? So 7.8, and then I'm going to press the X10N button, and I'll see that it says now times 10 to the, and I'm going to do 8. Okay, press to the right, because look where it's blinking. We don't want it blinking up there. It's going to mess up our answer. Okay, press to the right, minus sign, 1.5, and then x to the 10n, and I'm going to the 8th power. And it says from here now, because I'm not entering any more information, I can just press enter. And I get, where should commas go here? 630 million. Okay. We'll do, I guess, one together and give you some practice. Let you try it. So 2.077. I don't want to press the times button because I press times and then press the 10 in x. Now I have 2 times symbols. Okay, so just be careful. I can, oh, look, and so I can scroll back and clear. That's nifty. Sometimes it will work of what you want it to do, and sometimes it won't. Okay, let's clear that too. There we go. If I'm hovering it over, it should work. It didn't earlier, I feel like. Okay, so sorry. Times 10 to the nth power. And we want to go to the negative 4th power. So negative 4, enter. And I get that big number. Remember, you're writing on your answer sheet. 0 point, or not big number, very, very small number, just very, very long. 2077. Okay, no rounding. Write your number as you see it. Okay, go ahead. You have 2 minutes to do 2 and 3. Pause the video.